Killer create vibes now.
Welcome to another episode of the Get a Love Like Mine podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Keisha Amos. This is my beautiful husband, Sam Amos. We hope you enjoyed the premiere episode. You can find us every week on Sundays, wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, if you have a question that you want us to answer in the Ask the Amoses segment, you can send your questions to getalovelikemine.podcast@gmail.com. All right, let's get into these topics.
Today's first topic will be in the format of dating. We're going to discuss having trust issues. It's a huge thing. You hear a lot of times when you go to you're planning on being married or being in a serious relationship. Trust is always an issue that comes up that people feel like is a must-have ingredient. So that's where we're going to start today. The first topic that we want to discuss concerning trust is going through each other's cell phone. This happens a lot, and partially it's a trust issue, but it's also the other person's problem, because I think sometimes folks hold the phone a little too much in their hand, which can make that other person feel like, I wonder what in the world is going on over there that you just can't seem to put it down. You're going to have to put your phone down sometimes just so that the other person will feel more at ease. Like, it's not out of the ordinary to think if you have your phone in your hand all day, every day, that somewhere in there, there's someone that you're talking or texting to that it may be of the opposite sex, or a coworker, or a problem that to your relationship. So that's one of the biggest things, because cell phones have evolved so much, and everyone has them, even the small kids. Everyone's phone is stuck to their hand, and yeah, phones are great. You can learn a lot from them. You can get a lot of information from them, but they're making people become zombies. So no one talks to each other. We've been at restaurants before, and it's funny to look back and see a couple having a dinner date, and no one's talking to each other. Everyone's scrolling through, he's scrolling through his phone, she's scrolling through her phone. No one said a word, and the waitress comes up, hey, if you forgot what you want to eat. Oh, I forgot, I hadn't even looked at the menu. Put the phone down, and have some quality time there.
Well, I don't necessarily think having your phone in your hand is what causes trust issues, especially if both people are doing it. But I do think if you're trying to go through my phone, that there must be something that I'm doing that's making you insecure about it, that's making you have doubts. So if it's holding my phone, or I'm holding my phone and I'm laughing, and then when you walk in the room, I'm dropping it, things like that, of course, that's going to breed trust issues. But I don't think just having the phone, because like you said, people use their phone for so many things now. I use my phone, I use my calendar, I'm on my social media, and I have like 3 social media accounts: my personal account, my business account, and now the Get a Love Like Mine account. So I'm constantly working. It's not a matter of definitely not talking to somebody else. I don't even have time for that. But I just don't think that necessarily holding your phone breeds trust issues. But I do think there's something you're doing that's creating that issue. Another thing I'll add to that is that because I have started focusing more on why people do the things they do instead of what they're doing. There's a reason you're having these trust issues with the phone. It's not always just the other person's fault. It may be that in a previous relationship, your mate was cheating and you would walk in and they were always on their phone and hiding their phone, or when you come in the room, their phone goes face down, or, you know, issues like that. And you take that baggage into your new relationship. And so now you're automatically on the defense about the phone. In issues like that, I just feel like you need to kind of self-reflect and evaluate why you think that this person is just like the old person. Like my husband loves to say, you picked them. So why are you continuously picking people that have the same untrustworthy characteristics? You know, you may want to consider why you think that's what you're, you know, all you're worthy of. And then again, I say this every time, you need to pray about it. You need to pray about it and ask God to heal your insecurities. God did not give us the spirit of fear. And I feel like trust issues are fear-based. You're scared that that person is going to do something that's going to hurt you. And your trust should not be in man. It should be in God. So I think that's a good place to start when you're having these sensations of going through someone's phone. Now, don't let us make you think that we're better than y'all, because we have definitely gone through each other's phone. It's just something couples have to go through. Once you go through it enough times and you don't find anything, you'll stop wanting to go through the phone. You'll realize, I can really trust this person. All of that is unnecessary. But a lot of times it comes from your own insecurities, the issues you had in past relationships and things like that.
Let me say two things based on dealing with the phone. One thing is, I guess women too, but men mostly. If you're the guy that even when you get up and go to the restroom, you have to take your phone with you, you got to understand that is a bad look. That looks bad. You can't blame your lady for wondering, why is he taking the phone to the restroom? You're only going to be gone a couple of minutes. What? But if you can't leave that phone unattended for 2 minutes, you got to understand what that looks like. It looks bad. You know, so that thing absolutely try to, and you have to realize also, it's not always what it is, it's what it looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So if you can help what it looks like, please do. But you have to do, like she said, you have to do some self-reflecting and realize what's going on here. So I just wanted to add that.
You said two things. What was the other thing?
That was the other thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Realize what it looks like.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big thing, because a lot of arguments in relationships come from misunderstandings, and it's not necessarily what you did, but it's what it looked like. Yeah. Like if my husband told me he was going to dinner alone, and then one of my friends called me and said, I saw a woman sitting at the bar next to your husband, then yeah, that looks like, especially if she walked in and saw a woman sitting next to him, it may have looked like they were there together. But in actuality, he sat at the bar because he was there alone, and it just is what it looked like. So if I come to him all, mad, and I'm going off because of what it looked like, all he can do is respect it and say, babe, I know what it looks like, but I did not even talk to that woman the entire time we were there. And when you don't have trust issues, you can take them at their word. I feel like with trust issues, it's going to take work on the other person's part to help you feel more secure, help you feel more like there's no way that could have been what it was. So I just wanted to add that one thing before we go on to the next topic.
Also realize that a lot of times whoever has the problem, yeah, you can go and talk to friends, your best friend, your sister, your cousin, your mom, your dad, but there's really only one person in that scenario that can fix that problem for you. So yeah, you may go and talk to your buddy about your homeboy about it, and you know which homeboy to pick because he's going to say the things that you want to hear, right? But that's not helping your situation any, and now you're letting other people in your business. So aside from doing that, let's skip that step and discuss that with the person you're dating. Now, if this is the only person that can fix the problem that I'm having, it would be great if she would say, okay, you might have seen me at the bar. I didn't speak to this guy. I mean, I have no clue who he was. He was just sitting next to me when whoever saw what they saw it. What can I do to make you feel better? Do you know to check, look through my text mail? What can I do to ease your mind about this so that I can prove that, hey, there was nothing there? And a lot of times, this person will feel like, okay, if you're opening yourself up that much to me, then you're probably telling the truth. So just keep that in mind. There's little things you can do.
That makes me think of a story because one of my exes, when I would catch him in something, his response was, man, believe what you want to believe. And it's like, that did not help our situation in one bit. And so now to be with someone who, if something doesn't look right, and you come to them and they're willing to do whatever to ease your mind, it just puts you in a better headspace, because that believe what you want to believe, that means I'm lying. That's code. Ladies, that's code for I'm lying and I can't think of a new lie.
Wow.
So let's go on and move on to the next topic, which is playing games in relationships. So when you're cheating, well, I'm not going to say cheating, when you're having trust issues and, sometimes your issues are unfounded. So, we'll stick with the example of my husband being at the bar alone. So he's at the bar alone and it looks like he was there with another woman. So me, because I'm playing games in a relationship, I'm going to tell him I'm going to dinner by myself. And then I'm going to make it look like something. I might post on social media, put my camera up and take a picture of me with the guy next to me and cut the lady that's on the other side of him out of the picture. I cropped her completely out. So it looks like I'm taking a selfie, but there's this guy here, because I want my boyfriend to see this guy and think, oh, she trying to get me back for it. People, like, life is too short. It is too short to play those kind of tit for tat games in a relationship. It really does nothing to further your relationship. The other person seeing it it's only going to breed more arguing. Yeah, you may feel vindicated, like I got him back. But what if he really didn't do anything the first time and he really was just there eating lunch or dinner by himself with someone who, there may have been a lady next to him. Her date might have gotten up and gone to the restroom, and then your friend just walked in at that inopportune time. But you really, that playing games and tit for tat, that is just a no-no. Like, you're not going to further your relationship doing things like that.
Also, remember that your relationship, you're trying to get further where you can get past, working past these problems, okay? And so, along the lines of tit for tat, you don't want your date to say, well, why do you, when you go out and you hang with the fellas and you drink and you come in at 3 a.m, I don't really care for this. That's just too late. And, they may say, oh, well, I'm worried about your safety, or, the cops beating you up or something. And then, so my response is, well, it wasn't that long ago you were with your friends and you came in at 3, 4, it was almost 4 o'clock. So, and then here we go back and forth. Now the tit for tat game is on. Everybody can find something wrong with the other person. I guarantee you. But if you stop and think about it, where is this really getting? How far are we going to get here? A lot of times you need to remember, only request for things that you're willing to do yourself. Okay? Don't expect this person to be in at midnight. You got a curfew, but hey, I was just out with the fellas. Okay? Yeah, I came in at 4:45. and now I'm going to sleep. No, that's not going to help your togetherness anywhere. So if she doesn't like you going out till and staying out till 3:30 or 4, and you don't like her staying out till 3:30 or 4, then guess what? We can compromise here and have this discussion without raising our voice or, calling people out of their names, all that good stuff. We can talk like adults and figure this thing out. So we live by the golden rule a lot of times for almost everything. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Treat people the way you expect to be treated. I think that'll get a relationship a very long way.
Okay. What do you think about having friends of the opposite sex?
On a dating platform, specifically, I think it has a lot to do with who you're with. Now, whoever you're dating, I've seen guys dating women that they couldn't care less about him having multiple lady friends, liking all his pictures on social media and calling his phone. He's sitting there laughing and giggling up with her. But on the other hand, most women, whether they admit it or not, or men, they're not just going to admit and say, oh, I don't have a problem with that. If they do, a lot of times it's because they don't want to cut their supply off. And they know, it's probably going to be a little one-sided if I expect you to cut yours loose and I keep mine. So what do I want to do here? Because there may be one that I'm just really, really interested in that she hasn't showed a lot of interest to me, and it would be a shame for me to cut her off before I figure it out. But those type of things, if you're going to be in a serious relationship, you have to understand that they will cause many problems down the road. And to take it a step further, there's that third party a lot of times will throw salt in there just to keep some static. This person may be without someone to date, and they just mock your dating. Oh, you still hanging with her? She this and that. And then, you're listening to it. So a lot of times there's not a whole lot of upside or good that's going to benefit your relationship that's coming from that third party. Now, you factor in that third party is not dating anyone, and they're always hanging out or, inviting you to things. And now, if they invite you as a couple, maybe they're not as bad as you thought. But if they're trying to lure you away, well, let me know when she go out of town, and then you and I can, some of this stuff is self-explanatory. But don't date and sit there and act like I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't understand why.
This person is perfectly innocent. They've never tried anything. Oh, okay. But those things, I don't know how you ever work past them. A lot of times I would tell my friends, look, you're probably just not ready to be in a serious relationship if you're not willing to cut these things aside to help your relationship or the trust issue of the person you're dating.
I see a lot of people when it comes to that topic, or really any topic, it's always going to be somebody on the other side saying, it's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with doing that. Technically, there is absolutely nothing wrong with having friends of the opposite sex. From my own personal experience, I probably have, I can count on my hand the number of friends of the opposite sex that never tried anything with me. I have a couple that, they may have liked me at one point, but I never returned it, and so they settled for being my friend. But despite all of that, if my husband or the person I'm dating has a problem with it, I have to evaluate the friendship. Like, there are friendships that you may have had as a grown-up since elementary school or middle school. If those people are your friends and they've been around, a good portion of your life, when you get in a relationship, you're going to be responsible for mending those relationships. If you want your mate to be receptive to your friend of the opposite sex, you have to like introduce your friend, bring your friend around with their mate, make your mate feel comfortable with it. You can't have I had an ex-boyfriend who had a best friend that was a girl. I never met her. Me and him were together for 3 years. I never met her. And he acted like she was the most magnificent person ever to be born. And now that what you just said got me thinking, he was just holding out to make sure that she wasn't the one. Maybe she didn't like him at the time. He liked her. So he just, made her his best friend and told me that. But I went to family functions. I was always around and I never met her. But if you really want to, if these are truly your friends, there's no reason you can't combine those relationships, introduce them to your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or whatever. But let me just throw this out here. If it's somebody you used to date or used to,
go further than dating, a little further.
That's not your friend, boo. That's not your friend. That's your ex. And that person has no business in your new relationship. That person, that is a friendship, if you want to call it a friendship. That is a friendship that you need to rekindle after this one is over. That's not one that it needs to be going on simultaneously, because that's not really your friend. That's your ex. And that's not fair to make your current relationship, your current mate, have to just accept that your ex is in the picture. Like, that's just not fair. I mean, I've said this before. I'm big on respect. That's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to think that I got it like that. That I'm going to make this person be with me while I still got my ex hanging around. It's just not fair.
And then there's two things I can add to that. Number one, a lot of times folks will say, well, I knew her before, I knew her first. Hey, that's not a good excuse. That's not a good excuse to keep them around. And the other thing is, you don't fully disclose who this person is to you. Okay? Now, she may ask me, well, like how long y'all know each other, or did y'all ever date, whatever. And I may use, this is just a church member. We go to church together. Well, yeah, y'all, I didn't lie. We did go to the same church. But we were engaged, we dated for years off and on. I didn't lie. I just kind of hid a lot of the truth. That's not acceptable either. Come on now, come on. Life is short. Be real. Because the other thing is, if you find out that the person you're dating has done that same thing, now you're going to be ready to blow off the handle, but you just did what you're angry with them about. So, hey, sometimes you reap what you sow. So just keep that in mind. So, moving on, I have to ask this one question. Tell me how you feel about how people dress. Like, we're in a relationship, and if I'm a guy, I'm always walking around with my shirt off and all this other good stuff. So tell me how you feel about your apparel and how you're dressing if you're in a serious relationship.
Well, I'm glad you added serious relationship, because let me just say that I have evolved. There was a time when, like I was saying earlier, it's always somebody on the other side saying, there's nothing wrong with that. It's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
You bought them clothes. Huh?
Yeah. If you're a woman and you want to wear, low-cut tops or skirts that come up a little high, or very tight pants, or, whatever the case, if you want to wear yoga pants with a bra top to the grocery store, there is nothing wrong with that. But when you're in a relationship, you have to understand how men see things. And because my husband is my best friend, I'm able to talk to him about, things like that. And I have my own observations because, you know, I used to work at the post office. I used to work in an environment where there were a lot of men who were very disrespectful, and they watch what you wear. It was like being on the yard or something in the penitentiary, because they read more into what you're doing than what you intended. So, you know, you always hear people say, dress how you want to be addressed. So when you wear the low cut tops and the tight pants or the short shorts in front of a room full of men, you have to know that that's gonna attract attention. Now, if attention is what you desire, then yes, you have accomplished your goal for the day. Huh? But if you are in a serious relationship, attention from other men is not something that you should be trying to get. So, you know, if you're single and you're hanging out with your girls and y'all going to the club and y'all want to attract men, yeah, dress how you want to dress. I mean, how you want to be addressed. But if you're in a relationship and you go to the club with your single friends, you might want to, I am a firm believer that you can be fully dressed and sexy. Fully dressed. And I know a lot of people don't like her, but I'm going to use Kim Kardashian as one there as an example. I'm not talking about her bikini pics and her naked pics. I'm talking about when she is long sleeves, long pants, fully clothed. You can't see any skin and she looks sexy. I have a few attorney friends who dress very sexy, but they're fully clothed. They just have a body that no matter what they wear, is going to be sexy. But if you're in a relationship, you have to monitor those things. You have to know this is going to attract attention. Women, we have so much power. Like, you can make a man stop in his tracks by what you have on, how you talk to him. And you have to learn how to harness that power. When you're in a relationship, you should not be, you know, shooting your rays out on every man. You have to know, this is my man. I'm saving these things for him. So I'm not going to dress like that unless he's with me. Now, if he's with you and he likes you dressing that way, go have at it. But in my experience, when a man does not care how you dress, and I've only had one that didn't care how I dressed, it was because he was doing everything. So most men, if they are, you know, love you and are looking for a future with you, they don't want you showing your goods to the whole world. So that's how I feel about the clothes. Dress how you want to be addressed.
And okay, so speaking on those same lines, I'm around men a lot. I'm a truck driver. I work where there's just a lot of men. So I hear the talk that men have, and I'm going to say this to women. You would be surprised at the things that men come up with just by what they saw. You didn't even speak to them, but just by what you were wearing, he's come up with a whole scenario in his head. Oh yeah, she wants me. That's funny, but it's true. I've heard it. She wore that because when she was standing near the other day, she heard me talking about my favorite color was red. That's why my car is red. My hats are red. So the day she came in with some red spandex on, he knew it was for him. Wow. She never saw him over there. But he's over there shaking his head. I knew it. She's speaking to me without saying a word to you guys. And she couldn't be more wrong. But what I'm saying is, when you dress the way you want to be addressed, you have to understand that men will come in the club and they're looking for what you have on. What you have on is speaking to everybody. So the one with the least amount of clothes on, the shortest dress, the tightest pants, whatever it is that looks inviting, to him, those clothes are saying, hey, notice me. Come and say something to me. And then so, maybe not the most attractive guy may approach. There's probably all sorts of guys coming up saying something. Mm-hmm. And when she denies you or shuns you or blows you off, now you want to call her names. Well, guess where that came from? He's able to make that whole scenario up in his head that you put out an invitation. That's what it looks like. And you are dressing the way you want to be addressed. You want some attention. You want me to come up and say something to you. And surely you're not going to be interested in every guy that comes up, because there's some tall ones, short ones, some ugly ones, good looking ones. All that is coming in. So just remember that when you put yourself out there in public like that, that all kinds are coming from different directions. That's just the way it is. Just so you know.
That's it. Those are our topics for today. We're going to go to Ask the Amoses now. Let me get my phone so I can read our email question. And again, if you guys want to have your question read on the Get Love Like Mine podcast, go ahead and send us an email to getalovelikemindepodcast@gmail.com. And your questions will be read anonymously, so you can ask whatever you want. We won't say your name. So this one says, hello, I want to know what is a good communication tool for me and my husband to use. Sometimes our conversations start and then an argument ensues. So what kind of communication tools do you have?
Well, kind of like back in the day when you and I were dating, when we would argue, and from the time we argued to the time we figured out how to stop the arguing, you have to figure out why does this topic, whatever we are discussing, turns into an argument. I'm sure the topics are, there's a vast array of topics there, and if they all turn into arguments, or some of them or most of them, then we have to look deeper and see what is the problem here. A lot of times it is not what you say, it's how you said it. That's huge. And that takes us even further back to learning your spouse or your mate. You have to learn that person to figure out what they can process versus how. Yeah, and how. And what's going to be the best way to approach them with whatever it is that you want to discuss. We're adults here. Surely we should be able to discuss anything, and especially you and I, not maybe a stranger. No, not so much so, because you don't know anything about them. But okay, you and I are dating. I should know enough about you to be able to discuss things as a friend and know how to present them to you in a way that's not going to have us having what we call sub-arguments. I may had a problem with what time you came in the other night. And then your response to me is, well, guess what time you came in on this day, that day, and that day. And before you know it, you're going back and forth, and we never even discussed the first problem because we got a problem inside a problem now. Now we have these sub-arguments going on. And before you know it, everybody's mad, and we're nowhere near resolving the very first problem that was on the table. So there's so many things you have to be careful of to stop things from escalating, and that's one of them.
Yeah, there are a lot of communication issues. First is deflecting, which is what you just mentioned. I tell you I have a problem with something, and then instead of you addressing my problem, you tell me about something that doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about right now.
At that moment.
So deflecting, that's a big communication issue. Not listening is a huge communication issue. And when I say listening, I mean almost reading between the lines. Because sometimes in an argument, which is what we figured out about our arguments, they all stemmed from my desire to spend more time with him. So if I'm arguing with you or I'm fussing at you because you didn't come visit me today, or I wanted to go on a date and you didn't plan anything, or whatever the thing that I'm choosing to argue with you about, it's going to turn, or discuss with you, not argue with you about, but discuss with you. It's going to turn into an argument because I'm really not communicating what it is that is really my issue. If what really my issue is that I want to spend more time with you, but I'm fussing at you, why you always doing this and why you always doing that? And you get off from work, and instead of you coming to see me, you going to your homeboy house. And all along you're doing that because you just want to unwind. And you know that if you go to her house, you're going to have to hear all this fussing. You're not going to be able to unwind. But if you could discuss it, if you both could tell each other, look, I don't mind coming over here when I get off work, but I just want to relax. I don't want to talk. I just want to watch TV and, eat a bowl of cereal or whatever it is that helps you unwind. Have a glass of wine, whatever. You just want to relax and do that, or watch the game or whatever. If you tell her that, then maybe she can self-reflect and say, okay, well, I need to make this a more peaceful environment for him. And that way he can come over. And then you can tell him, well, the only reason I was fussing about you not coming over was because I just really missed you and wanted to spend time with you. Talking to each other like that is only going to make things better. You're supposed to be in a loving relationship. You have to learn how to love each other. Back when my husband and I used to argue all the time, I used to literally tell him, talk to me like you talk to your daughter. Because I promise you, no matter what she does wrong, he is never going to raise his voice. He's going to talk to her just like she is just the most special person on earth.
She is.
Talk to me like you talk to her. Treat me the way you treat her, with kid gloves. Because it just breeds love. If you're a daddy's girl or a mama's boy, you know how your mom or dad speaks to you. They're not always, going at you. They're loving on you. Oh, my baby this and my baby that. That's kind of how your mate should be talking to you. I'm not trying to make it creepy, but if you get what I'm saying, you need to talk to each other in that loving way. And I think that is a good communication tool. Also, just like my husband said, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So if you want to convey that your mate is drinking too much, instead of saying, constantly the same thing, you always drinking and you need to quit drinking and you need to do this and you need to do that. No man wants to hear a woman telling them what to do. They just don't. I don't know why, because your mama grew up telling you what to do and you didn't have a problem with that. But when they get grown, that's the first thing. You not my mama, you can't talk to me like that. So don't talk to them like that. Talk to them in a different way. Talk to them in a loving way. Talk to them in a way that makes them want to do better. Babe, I am so scared when you're out drinking and I don't know, if you're going to make it home to me. It seems like you're concerned, because you are, but you have to convey that. You have to learn to speak to them with kid gloves, in a way that is loving and doesn't sound like you're fussing or acting like their mom.
Versus saying, your liver gonna fall out. I hope you tear your car up, because you can't stop drinking. You just like an uncle we used to have back in such and such and such. Well, it's not what you said, it really is. But it's also how you said it. That's not going to get you very far with being sarcastic. I mean, it's just downright rude, And I'm sure you wouldn't want to be talked to in that fashion. You would have a huge problem with it. But the main thing is, you have to monitor what comes out of your mouth. Life and death is in the power of the tongue.
Yes, it is.
So you can assassinate this person with words. And then when they clam up and stop telling you their thoughts, their dreams, their hopes, they don't open up and tell you their feeling, how they feel about you or your relationship, well, you may be a big part of that reason. Because when they try to discuss that type of thing with you, you either wasn't paying attention, you weren't in the mood to hear it, you didn't nurture the content of what was being said in a way that we can discuss it like adults. You dismissed it. Oh man, yeah, you have a dream of being in real estate, but what you gonna do? You ain't been to noun class, ain't tried to read a book.
Not damn.
Noun class. You ain't trying to read a book, but you just gonna fall out the sky and be this real estate mogul? Get out of here with that, man. Go on. Call me when you're rich.
Oh my God.
So the next time this person sits up and has maybe seen some things on CNN or talked to somebody that's doing well and think, hey man, I think I can do that. Let me go discuss it with my significant other, and then you blast a cannon at them. Get out of here and don't call me don't come back until your pocket's full. Well, don't be upset when they start taking those exact same ideas and hopes and dreams and sharing them with the neighbor or the lady that was mysteriously sitting at the bar.
Oh my God.
Hey, she came back. So, these tools, you have to keep them in mind that I don't think people self-reflect enough. Mm-hmm. Everybody's so busy trying to fix the other person, they don't want to claim the part they played in the response that came back. And that's a huge thing. You may not realize it, but just start. Get you some Windex. It's not hard. Clean the mirror off so you can see who's in there real good. And so you can help fix who's in the mirror so I can respond to you in a loving way and we don't have to argue about everything.
Well, I'm going to do a little shameless plug. We're not getting paid for this. This is not our sponsor. But I read this book this summer called Draw the Circle. You can find it on Amazon. It's like $10. It is it's a book about your prayer life and circling things in prayer. And one of the things that kind of touched me and changed me during that prayer challenge was we are supposed to encourage one another. You're supposed to speak blessings over one another. So when you're trying to communicate things to your mate, your spouse, your children, encourage them. Always be ready to pray a blessing over them. Motivate them. Like you said, the guy says he wants to be a realtor, a real estate agent, whatever. Speak blessings over him. Pray with him in the morning before he leaves for work or at night when he gets home. Pray with him. Encourage him. Motivate him. When you speak like that, like my husband said, or like the Bible says, there's power in the tongue. Life and death is in
Power of the tongue.
The power of the tongue. You have to, when you speak those things, you manifest those things, you will be so surprised when you're walking in your answered prayer. You can motivate a person and speak blessings over them and then see them doing the thing that you spoke over them. It wasn't you. It was God. But it can change you and change the nature of your relationship. It can make your relationship just so much more peaceful, so much more loving, so much more respectful, so much more
desirable.
Desirable. That's a good word. So encourage each other. And we want to take this time to encourage you, the person who wrote in to Ask the Amoses. We want to speak blessings over your life, over your relationship. I pray that you and your mate are able to communicate in a loving way, to speak to each other with kid gloves on, not disrespectfully, not as if you're the other person's parent, but in a way that encourages the other one and motivates them. And we just pray that you guys are, that we were able to help you with this episode and with our answers to your questions. And again, if you guys have questions, get a love like mine podcast at gmail.com. We thank you for listening to this episode. We pray that you all have a wonderful week. And remember, new episodes will be dropping every Sunday wherever you get your podcasts.
Also want, before we go, to speak also positive over the person that wrote in. Just remember that if you're married or in a serious relationship, whichever one it is, that if this is truly who you want to be with, there's nothing you guys can't make it through. Okay? Just believe that. If we're going to be together, we're going to be together. We're going to be grown about this. There's nothing wrong with having problems. We need to be able to discuss them. But just believe, look, together, we can work through anything. And you can. So, thank you all for joining us. Once again, we got to go. And have a blessed day.